Hi everyone, I'm Victoria and welcome to my YouTube channel where we craft, and in this series we are making clay earrings. So I have started with a design. Today we are doing a Summerween earring. This is the design that I came up with, just a little spooky ghost there holding a cauldron. A couple other things I have before getting started in case you want to follow along and make your own. I have all of my tools here in this cup. So as you can see, there's a bunch of tools, a roller, a scraper, things like that. In the back here, I have my trays that I use just to kind of roll out clay so it doesn't mess up my table. I have all of my earring pieces here. They look like this. I just got them off of Amazon. Same thing with my clay, same thing with the rollers and the tools and stuff. This is where the real challenge comes in. I have this tray here, which is very messy, as you can tell. All of my clay cutters are on the tray, and then I have all of the colors that are currently open. There's a lot on here that are currently open. So my goal with this series is also to try to use up as much of this as I can. So we're gonna try to roll with this for now and see how it goes, but let me take you along in case you wanna make them with me. Okay, so let's get started. As you can see, here's the design that I just showed you. It's a spooky little ghost holding a cauldron with a bunch of bubbles spilling out. Here's our first Summerween design. The first thing I do is I do my sketch. Then the second thing I do is I think about the cutters that I have. So I'll show you, I'll kind of bring it into frame a little bit just so you can get an idea of what's in there, and I'll show you some pieces. But after making the design, I want to think about the general shapes, right? Like I'm not going to have a ghost cutter shape, but it will be easier for me to make the two earrings similar, if not as close to identical as I can possibly get, if I have a cutter to help me get the size and the shape correct. So when I look at my cutters, I notice that I have this one. Also, if you think about it in the idea of a ghost, right, like this matches the top part of our ghost here, and really all I would need is a little bit of the bottom of the ghost and then some arms. So I'm going to start with that, and then I'm just kind of taking a look at some of the other ones that I have in here. I know I have, this one would be good for the arms, just to try to keep it consistent. So as you can see, I have like, maybe even this way, the arm there. So this would kind of overlap when I use the cutter to have the two arms there. Next is the cauldron. The cauldron is pretty circular. So I do have 3 different size circles. I don't know, this is going to be like a Goldilocks situation, right? Like I have the baby bear, the mom bear, the papa bear one, and maybe none of them fit, but at least I can get close to the correct size. So what I want to do is kind of think of my ghost and put that cauldron in there and just kind of see how it works. Let's play around with the bigger one first, because once I cut them out, then I can get an idea of it, and if it's too big, I could just use the smaller one and plop it in there and make it smaller. So let's do that. And then for the bubbles, I have these as well to play around with for the bubbles for the cauldron. And those are the shapes I'm going to use. For the eyes, I might just roll it out. I guess we'll just kind of see as we go. Okay, so we have the first step done of having our sketch, finding our shapes in the cutters. The next step that we want to do is we want to start picking our colors. I don't want to move the drawing too far out of the way because I want us to still be able to see it as we pick out our colors, but I do have my handy dandy tray of many, many open colors here. So obviously for the ghost, we're probably gonna go white, and lucky for me, I already have a white one here that was just missing a little chunk. So I have my white ghost there. The next thing is I want black for the eyes. I have a black here, so I already have that eye color. I also will probably use it for the cauldron. Since it is Summerween, I want to use some bright colors. Normally I might do like a black cauldron with some green bubbles, but that speaks regular Halloween to me. I want something that speaks Summerween, but we'll have cauldron, so ghost, eyeballs, possibly cauldron, mixing these two together, and then this will be the bubbles. So let's hop into the next step. Okay, next step time. I have laid out the materials, as you can see. What's out of frame here is just the tools. But what I want to do is start with the white. The reason I want to start with the white is because I laid out this mat, and this mat is clean-ish now, but it's not always clean. So I want to make sure when I'm working with white that my hands are clean, I don't have any residue from any other clay color, which is why I really want to start with the white one. So what I'm going to do is just pull out my my clay cutters, for the design. I'm going to start with the white because that is my ghost. So again, this is the body. These are going to be his little arms holding him. Everything I do, I want to do 2 times as much so that I have enough for one pair of earring, 2 pieces. So I'm just going to rip off some white. You want your clay to be relatively thin, especially when you are stacking layers. When you are stacking layers, it takes longer for it to bake in the oven. So I have this, and I'm gonna not push all the way through with this cookie cutter. What I'm gonna do is I'm just going to make an imprint. If you recall from a little bit earlier in the video, I said that this is mostly like the shape of a ghost. The part that it's missing, I'm gonna use a tool. You could really use any tool. I'm just using this one because it is like a finer point. And I am just going to take this and kind of map out the rest of that shape here. So I just gave them 3 little squiggle butts, and I'm gonna give this one 3 little squiggle butts. And try not to move the camera. So as you can see, I have that. Another tool that I really love is this one that looks like kind of like just a little knife. So I am going to take this knife, and instead of cutting the exact shape right now, I'm actually just gonna cut off like big chunks of excess that I can. But I'm gonna save those because I still need to make the hands for later. I am just going to kind of push in. I'm not following that line I drew. That's just kind of a guide so I knew how much space I needed at the bottom. And I've now made a little wiggle butt on the bottom of him. I have that. I don't know if you're able to see in the video, but there are the lines from where I drew on them. So I'm just gonna lightly roll this out a little bit. And then what I can do is I can pick this guy up and just kind of take a look at him. I can also form with my fingers a little bit further to make that squiggle butt the shape that I want it to be. While those guys are sitting there, I'm gonna grab some of this excess. Remember, anything I do, I need to do it for 2 earrings so that I get a pair. I have this guy who's gonna be used for the hands. So I am going to use my clay cutter. Sometimes it happens, it gets stuck. I just take any tool and I really just gently push out. So there is one arm. It's gonna go again like this, but I'm not pushing anything down yet. Those are my ghosts so far. So these are them. Not perfect, not smushing any of the arms down yet, just laying them there to get an idea of how big they are compared to the ghost. Does it look proportionate, and so on and so forth. I have to now make a cauldron. So I'm gonna take these little guys' arms off, and my next step is, now that I have the cauldron actually worked out, now that I have the ghost worked out, I can figure out the size of the cauldron. So again, if you remember, I have this color for the bubbles. It's a little dirty on that side. I have this color that I could do the cauldron in. I think what I'm gonna do is make the cauldron black, but I will mix this and this together so that I can actually get some type of dimension inside of the bubbles. So it may not just be like one flat color, which is also fine if that's the design you're going for, but I think I wanna push the limit a little bit. So let's start with the cauldron. Again, I'm just gonna do just black. So I have, I'll show you the thickness, rolled out the black. It's still relatively thin. So I'm gonna cut out 2 circles. These are going to be my cauldrons. And is there enough room for this guy here? Yes. Sometimes my planning ahead to make sure I can get the most out of my clay, rolled out clay, is not the best. I'm gonna save this guy, need it for the eyeballs later. I'm not gonna worry about them now. So I have my ghost, I have my circles for my cauldrons, but we know the cauldron, if you can see it, you can, in here, does not have a rounded top, right? Like a cauldron has an opening in it that we actually can't see. So you can use whatever tool you want, but I'm gonna use this knife tool again. And I'm really just gonna wing it. And I am going to cut a very shallow U shape through the cauldron. Now mine pulled a little bit when I did it, so I'm just gonna reshape with my fingers. Again, a very, very subtle U shape. So I'm gonna very lightly lay my cauldron here. And it's so cute. So I have not pushed it in yet, I just laid it on top. And I'm gonna continue to do this for a couple more steps most likely. But what I want to make sure that I'm doing is taking some of this, and I'm just going to take it between my fingers and roll it. And I have gotten this shape here. I'm going to split it in two, and I'm going to stick it to the back of this cauldron. And it looks goofy now if you can see it in the video because you can see the outline. But you don't have to worry about smoothing it out perfectly because you do have the other side that now has a strip in it. Fiddlesticks, it's fine. And there, my cauldron has legs. I'm gonna take the cauldron and I'm going to place it on top of my ghost at this point in time. Now this is the scary part because once I do this, going back is not an easy feat. So I've got my cauldron. As you can hopefully see, hopefully I'm in frame, yes, is the bottom of the ghost is here. On the design, it was a little bit down. Cauldron, cauldron, ghost head up here. Now, before I forget, actually, I'm going to use this tool. You can really use whatever floats your boat, but this is the tool that I'm choosing to use. I decided that I'm going to make these into dangly earrings. So I'm actually going to use this tool right at the top. I'm going to make a hole big enough for me to put the dangly part of the earring through. I am going to take these and do the scary part, which is the point of no return. So before you do this, make sure that you really like the shape of everything, you're happy, and you're ready to commit, because I'm going to take my roller and very lightly, just enough to push that cauldron into the ghost, I am going to do that. Next step. I have my arms cut out for my ghost. I am going to grab the arms and just place them here. I'm not pushing down. I'm really just wrapping, not wrapping, I'm just placing right now, but I will be wrapping in a moment. That looks really stinking cute to me. So what I'm gonna do is very carefully, don't rip the ghost, pull it up, and I am actually just going to fold this over so it legitimately looks like it's folded. On the back, I don't really mind if it's not 100% perfectly touching the ghost. That is my first ghost. He is holding his cauldron. That is my ghost holding the cauldron. I have these two colors that I decided to mix together for the bubbles. You can just do some pink, some purple, but I took 2 bits of this color and I'm gonna smush those bad boys together. I'm gonna mix it. I don't want it to be fully mixed because I do want to see a little bit of both colors kind of streaming through there. Pull this bad boy out. And then the next step is really just cutting out some circles. So if you don't have these tools here, you can just roll balls. Like, that is totally fine. I'm going to sift through this really quickly and just think about what size bubbles I want. That feels way too large for what I'm looking for. Potentially could do something of this size. If I look at my Cauldron, I do enjoy that size, but I want to give a couple different sizes in here. So I've got this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to boop, 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 boop. Sometimes when you do it, it gets stuck in there. So again, keep a tool nearby to just lightly push it out. But what I would do is this. And I'm just gonna make a row of those ones then, just to make sure we're all on the same page. Oh, see, this is what I was talking about. Sometimes they stick in there still. And then some of this size, and I'll come back when I have some of those cut out. Okay, we are back. This is the color. I mixed the two together. I did 2 different sizes as I said I would. The thing I threw in was I used this. I mentioned it earlier in the video that I wanted to do this, but I just cut out some more bubbles. I just want to make a quick note. I try to mirror my earrings. If I have the bubbles transcending down on this side, I'm gonna do them on this side on the other one. I personally like the way it looks when they're hanging up. So I'm just gonna start randomly placing some of these bubbles here. I do have some pink ones. I'm not sure if I'll love it. So I'm just gonna place them and really not push down at all, because I don't want to have them funky and me not like it. But I think I'm really liking the contrast in colors from what I'm seeing so far. Just having like that vibrancy in there. I'm gonna take this. I am not pushing hard at all. And in fact, I might even just pick up and push first, because if you roll, depending on how lightly you push, they might just move with your roller. Now, I don't want them completely flattened. Last step for the design is the eyeballs, but I have something in mind that I think will help finish off our look and make it just look definitely more complete. So all I did was grab some of the black clay. I'm playing with it in my finger. I have this tool again. I'm going to use this edge this time and really just kind of like work it. I'm pushing, I'm pulling, I'm just creating that oval look. This color. Now I've created it and I have a decent amount left. This is the one I made by mixing the magenta and the purple. I love it for this project. I don't know that I love it for something else. So if we take a look, let me just wipe my hands really fast. If we take a look at the ghost, right, peel him up really easily. Here's our ghost. He's super duper cute with his little cauldron. We flip him over. What the heck is that, right? Doesn't look great. So what I want to do is flip my guys over, because I can guarantee you this guy's probably going to be the same exact way, even though I haven't looked at him. Again, being very mindful. I'm hoping I have enough of just this one. If not, I can always mix in a little bit more of either of these colors. But I'm going to roll this out. And it does not matter how thin this one is, because he is just going to end up being the backing for the ghost. And I do not do this on all of my earrings, I will be honest with you. I'm going to take my ghost, I'm going to lay him down. I'm going to take this ghost and hope I have enough here. Of course I don't. What if I put him on an angle? Maybe I can move this guy over a little bit. Maybe up and over. And then will you fit, mister? Close enough. Okay, I'm happy with it. It's close enough. I fished this guy out again with a little knife. I'm going to very carefully just trace. I am gently pushing down because I don't know that I want to roll it again. So I am just gently pushing down. I'm doing right now. So again, back to the pokey tool, and I am going to follow the hole. I am just going to boop, 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 create the hole to hang the earrings through the purple this time. Okay, and here are our ghosts, looking super snazzy. If you flip them over now, they've got this backing on them that matches the other color. So, yes, those are our ghosts. Next step is to bake them because we did use polymer clay. It will not dry out, which is why I can afford to have all of my clay half open in baggies stacked on top of each other. Okay, hi everyone, I'm back. I baked the clay on 200 degrees for 25 minutes facing this way, and then after those 25 minutes I flipped it over and I did another 10 facing this way. My clay feels pretty good. It's a little bendy, but I don't usually do that stress test too much, just in case. These are the earrings. They're super cute. I'm really glad that we put the back on them so that they look a little more finished. I'm going to show you 2 optional steps in the next part. If you want to skip along, I'll just tell you this first part is going to be adding some acrylic paint to add dimension to the bubbles in the cauldron. And then the second part is going to be coating in resin, just to kind of strengthen and give it a sheen. Just mixed up some colors here. I used a dark purple, a light purple mixed with a dark purple, and then a light purple mixed with white. So that's what I have going on here. But then I'm just going to kind of go in and try to add some dimension to the bubble. So let's do it. I'm going to show you this next optional step. I like to do this to preserve my earrings. I also like to do it to add some gloss. Today we're going to explore adding some glitter as well. That I got my resin from Amazon. And then my glitter is actually from this pack from Five Below, and I love it. It came with so many options and colors. I would highly recommend checking them out, and I think also my paintbrush is from there too, just because it was a steal. But yeah, let's get started. So I'm going to use the brush on method. And I'm going to take this UV resin. A little bit goes a long way. So I'm just going to add into my little red solo cup, which actually are from the Dollar Tree if you're interested. I'm going to add this much because I can always add more. I'm going to start with just the clear coating of it instead of adding the glitter at first. But I think I'm going to keep this glitter here for the bubbles. I think that that'll add a nice little touch. Hopefully, I guess we'll see. But I've got my paintbrush here, and now I'm just going to dip into my resin. I'm going to pick up my first guy over here, and let's get painting. I'm going to do this clear resin everywhere right now. I'm going to be really careful around the hole for the earring where the loop goes. I do want to get in there just to make sure that it's stronger, but I want to make sure that I'm not putting too much in there where it ends up gooping up and closing the hole. My resin cup out of the way. I have my light. I'm going to set it this time for 99 seconds, just because I do have to coat this guy, which I may do off camera just because it's a little hard for me to see and do it underneath the camera, but you just saw it with the first process. Nothing's changing. I'll come back when it's time for the glitter. I will probably do this about 2 or 3 times on the front and the back each. Okay, I just finished using my UV lamp. This is what they're looking like so far. So as you can see, they're way shinier. I even did the back, I did the sides, just to kind of preserve it. I made sure that I did get inside of the hole with the paintbrush, but didn't use up, take up the space. So that's what they're looking like so far. I did tell you I wanted to try adding glitter to the bubbles and hope for the best. I added a little bit more resin in there because I ran out. I'm gonna try not to dump all of this glitter in there because that tends to happen. And I'm just gonna give it a little zhuzh. That looks good. Maybe let's mix it and see where we are with it, because there's not that much resin in there, so I don't want it to be like overpowering. That looks good. Just a little razzle dazzle, a little pizzazz. So I've got this. I'm just gonna start going in on my bubbles, and I already love it, so that's awesome. Opening it up towards you. You can already see the difference in these. Just adding a little bit of sparkle to the bubbles. So I'm just gonna do both. Usually I will pop one under the UV lamp while I do the other one because it just saves time. But since this took me like 30 seconds to add the glitter layer, I'm just gonna bust it out right now, and then I am going to make sure that they both go under the UV lamp. Under there, boop. I'm gonna put it on for 99 seconds just to make sure that it's really all set. I'm gonna grab my brush and clean it because I'm not gonna do 2 layers. I don't want the glitter to be so thick that you can't see that acrylic work that we put in before that. So I'm just cleaning my brush off camera right here, but I'll clean it. This will sit for 99 seconds, and then we'll put the jewelry in, the dangly bits. So see you in a second. Okay, now we're moving on to this step of adding the hook to our earring. I have 2 pieces here. I have this round piece and I have my hook. I usually add this stopper on here, even though it probably won't come out since it's a hook, but I like it just in case. This part is always the trickiest part for me. I have this, I already opened it. All I did was take my needle nose pliers, grab, use my thumbnail to push it open. I'm gonna take this and I'm going to feed it through the hole that we put in the ghost. So there's that. Before I close it, I'm gonna take my hook. I'm gonna put my hook in there as well. Have it flush against my ghost. This way I can grab my pliers. I can squeeze that bad boy shut. Sometimes I have trouble because there's still a gap here, and I obviously don't want the earring to fall out while wearing it. So I just give it a little squeeze to kind of overlap the 2 sides. Sweet. So if you followed along, I'd love to see your pictures. But I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and yeah, we'll see you soon.